Hi students. So today we're going to do something called applications of parabolas. And I don't know if you remember my very first video when I showed you guys that Google slide and it had like satellites and solar cookers and whispering galleries and bridges. And those are all examples of things that we will, find information about because this is one of the more applicable units that we do as far as real life situations, okay? So this can be kind of hard, it can be challenging. You guys aren't here to answer questions or to ask questions. So just hang with me. And again, if the homework's hard, you can always replay this video, watch it a couple times, email me, etc. Okay. All right, so you guys should have printed out a worksheet that I posted on my website, and I'm going to do the problems on the board, okay? The first problem is about a flashlight, which is kind of cool. I want to explain it before we do the problem. So if you have a flashlight like this, okay, and if the bulb happens to be at the focus, so like that's the light bulb, okay, then what will happen is that when you turn the flashlight on, all the light will hit off the parabolic reflector and bounce straight forward. So all the light will go like this, okay? So if you want the flashlight to have light that goes straight forward, you should put the bulb at the focus. Now, not all flashlights work that way. If you move the bulb closer to here or closer to here, it changes how the light moves. So sometimes you might want to have a flashlight where you want the light to be more dispersed, and you would do that by moving the light bulb. And some of those flashlights have like that little thing on the bottom where you can turn it and move the bulb. Or you could move it possibly so that the light is more directed and just like goes in a smaller area. So those are things that you can do with a flashlight, which is kind of cool. And headlights work the same way, although usually you can't move the headlights. Okay, so in this problem, okay, if you notice my picture, first of all, it says that the flashlight is at the bulb is at the focus, which is important. You're gonna wanna put all of these on an XY axis, okay? So you should always, no matter what, even if the problem doesn't say though, draw an XY axis and put the vertex somewhere where it's easy. So generally in math, this isn't gonna work every time, but generally in math, if you put the vertex at the origin, it makes the problem easier. And if you look at the picture, the flashlight's opening to the right, so there's no need to complicate things. Let's just keep that consistent. And have my flashlight opening to the right. I'm gonna do this to make it look three-dimensional, and my bulb is right here. This is my bulb, okay? It's also at the focus, okay, which means that this is the letter A, because remember, by definition, A is the distance from the vertex to the focus, okay? So first thing I want you guys to do is write down the equation of a parabola opens to the right. Hopefully you guys are getting good at this. If it opens to the right, it's y squared. So y minus k squared equals 4ax minus h. Okay. However, the first thing you always do if you know it is fill in the vertex. If the vertex here is 0, the h and k drop off and it makes the equation look a lot easier. So you can just start from this one from now on if you want to. All right. So an equation has x and y in it. The only thing that you need to fill in is a. And in this problem, we gave you A because it says that the flashlight is 1.5 centimeters from the vertex. So I'm actually giving you that this is 1.5, which is the part of the problem you needed to know. So you need to know that A is that distance. So in this problem, I'm just gonna fill in y squared equals 4ax, and then of course multiply those and you get your equation. So now if you wanted to find any other point, you can plug in an x, it would give you a y, etc. And that is the equation of that flashlight. So that's part A. Okay. Then it says, if the flashlight is 3 centimeters deep at the vertex, how wide is the opening of the flashlight? Okay. So 3 centimeters wide at the vertex means that this distance right here is 3, okay? That's 3 centimeters. Sorry, I said 3 centimeters deep at the vertex. So this is 3 centimeters, and they want to know like how wide this is. So they want to know this distance, okay? So in math, this distance is called x, and this would be y from here to here. So this total thing from top to bottom would of course be 2y, okay? All right, so if you have an equation and you know x, you can always find y. So I know that x is 3, so y squared equals 6 times 3. So y squared equals 18, square root that. Okay, and you can do two things. We know that the square root of 18 is 3 root 2. Okay, so if this is 3 root 2, then this is also 3 root 2, and the depth is 6 root 2, okay? And that would be in centimeters, okay? Now, in this class, usually when it's a word problem, we use decimals just because more people can relate to them. So you can also type this into your calculator, 6 root 2, then it would be 8.486 centimeters, okay? For the most part, unless I specify, I'll take either answer. If I say exact, give me this one. If I say rounded, give me this one. If I don't specify, you can give me either answer. Okay, so I hope that helps. You can do your homework question on that, looks like that. Just replay this if you need to. Okay, the next problem is about a parabolic archway. So give me a second to erase my board. I wanted to get brand new pens for today, and then I forgot that they never erase when I do that. So let me clean this off a little with my wipes. Okay, sorry, unfortunately I tried to pause before and it just shut the video off, so I must not risk it. You guys fast forward through those boring parts. Okay, this one says a parabolic archway is 12 meters high at the vertex. At a height of 10 meters, the width of the archway is 8 meters. How wide is the archway at ground level? So you have to be really thoughtful about where you draw this one, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and draw my axis like I always want to. Okay, a parabolic archway is something that kind of looks like this, you know, like maybe you would walk underneath it. For me personally, I don't want to put the archway underneath the ground. Like I don't want to put the vertex here and then all these answers would be negative, because I feel like that's really challenging to have negative heights even though it's an archway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my vertex right here on the graph, okay? And I'm going to have it be symmetrical on both sides. Okay, and by the way, like if you chose to do something different than me, it doesn't mean that it's wrong, okay? So you can also, you know, draw your archway here. You can draw it here. You just have to do whatever makes the most sense for you. And sometimes that's the hardest part, is kind of picking where you want it, okay? To me, this makes sense. This is the ground, okay? This is the vertex. Okay, and this is my archway. And if you notice now in a flashlight, the focus has an actual meaning, right? It like means where the light goes off from. In an archway, I mean, there's no meaning for the focus, right? It doesn't have any applicable meaning to the archway, but you still have to find it, otherwise you won't know the equation, okay? All right, so in this problem, it says the parabolic archway is 12 meters high at the vertex. So because I put my vertex there, I know that that is 0, 12, okay? At a height of 10 meters, the width of the archway is 8 meters, okay? All right, now this is kind of tricky, okay? It says the width is 8, but the width has to be split in between both sides. So if this, let me draw it a different color. If this is 8, right, then that means there's 4 on each side. So this has a width of 8, and it says that happens when it is 10 meters high. So this is the point right here for 10. Okay, so I hope you understand that. It says at 10 meters high, which is the y, the width is 8, but because it's split, you have to do 4 on each side. So this is 8 and this is 10. Okay. All right, so then it says, how wide is the archway at the ground? So eventually, the question we're going to address is obviously this is the ground. We want to know how big this whole archway is, where of course this part would be x, so this whole thing would be 2x from here to here. Okay, so x goes from here to here, but the width of the archway is the whole thing, so it would be twice the value of that. Okay, All right, so let's get started with what we do know. We know that our parabola opens down, okay? So remember, the equation of a parabola opening down starts with x squared. So x minus h squared equals negative 4ay minus k. So I always start by writing the formula out, okay? I know my vertex is 0, 12, so I can go ahead and fill that in. So the 0 is the h and the 12 is the k, so then I'm left with this. Okay. In order to have an equation, you have to find a. If they don't give you a, like we did in the flashlight problem, you have to find it. And how you find it is by picking a point that you know. So lucky for us, we have a point. This is x, this is y. So we're going to plug in the point 4, 10. Okay, the 4 goes where the x is, and the 10 goes where the y is. Okay, all right, and then you get 16 equals negative 4a times negative 2. 16 equals 8a, a equals 2. Okay, all right, that worked out nice. Okay, and then to write an equation, you go back here and you fill in that 2. So my equation is x squared equals, and then negative 4 times a, so negative 8, y minus 12. Okay. So now it says how, so we haven't even answered the question yet, that's just the equation. It says how wide is the archway at ground level? So right here at the ground, we don't know how far this is, but we do know that that y value is 0. So if we plug in 0 for y, it'll solve for x. Okay, that's what equations do. Give one variable, it solves for the other. So we're going to take our equation. Okay, we don't know x, but we do know that at the ground, y is 0. So I plug 0 in right there, and you get that x squared equals, is that 100? Oh, that's 96, sorry. Okay, so x squared equals 96. And then you square root. And I'm going to go ahead and just turn this one into a decimal. Of course, you could leave it root 96, but I'm kind of actually curious how big it is in numbers. So I'm going to do 9.798, and that is in meters. Okay. So that's this value right here. When I plugged in 0, it gave me x, but the archway is twice as big as that. So the answer is you have to double that, okay? And my answer is that the archway is 19.596 meters. Okay. Again, you can replay this video again if you need to. I know these problems are tricky, and I will try to practice them with you more, okay? All right, so we have one more problem to do, and it's about the like a bridge, kind of like the Golden Gate Bridge. Okay, so give me a second to erase my board. All right, so we're going to start by just kind of drawing a suspension bridge. Okay, so what I want you guys to do is draw me an axis. Okay, and again, you can put the vertex of your parabola kind of whatever you want, but I really want you guys for this one, we're going to have it right here. So when you have a bridge, this is the road. Okay, so this is like kind of where you drive, like the Golden Gate Bridge is an example of suspension bridge. So we're driving on the road, okay? And what happens is you have these big swooping like parabola things, and then you have a tower that kind of holds them up, okay? So I want you guys to draw a picture similar to this. Okay. And then of course they would just continue on like this. Sorry, it shouldn't be like, and then it goes like this. Okay, and then if you want to, you can kind of make it look more like a tower just by like drawing like the little cables that you see. So hopefully that looks okay. All right, so this is where you drive. These are the suspensions right here, and those are the ones that are the parabolas, like that's the parabolic shape, okay? And it says each cable of the suspension bridge is suspended in the shape of a parabola between two towers that are 120 meters apart. Okay, so we have 120 meters. Okay. And then it says, and the top of each tower is 20 meters above the roadway. Okay, so this right here is 20 meters above the roadway. Okay, the cables touch the roadway midway between the towers, so this is exactly halfway. And sometimes it says that it touches like above the road, but in this one it just says it touches midway on the road. Okay. All right, so let's start with the beginning. Okay, you always want to write an equation of your parabola. This one happens to open up, so the equation of a parabola that opens up is x minus h squared equals 4ay minus k. Okay. All right, on this one, again, you always want to fill in the vertex first if you know it. My vertex is right here at 0, 0, so that changes the equation into that. Okay, so write your equation. If you know it, fill in the vertex. Okay, and then remember, to have an equation, I have to know A. But they're never going to tell you what the focus of a bridge is because it doesn't have any meaning. So even though we have to find A to find the equation, we don't know the distance right now, okay? So what you need to do is, if you don't know A, this is going to be like a common theme. You have to find a point on the parabola that you do know. So if you look at all these numbers, what it does is it gives you this point. So if I'm right here at the vertex, how far over is it from to here? Well, it's going to be half of this because this would be 60 and this would be 60, okay? So if I'm right here and I go over 60 and up 20, I'm right here, which is a point on my parabola, okay? So you have to use the numbers in the problem that they give you to write an equation for the parabola. So I'm going to plug in the point 60, 20, okay? So it's 60 squared equals 4a times 20, so 60 squared equals 80a, okay? This is 3600, divide, okay, and that gives you that a equals 45. Okay, so a is 45, you take that, you plug it back into the equation right here, and you get that the equation is x squared equals 4 times 45y, or x squared equals 180y. Okay, so that's going to be an equation for our bridge. Okay, so that's part B. This is B. Okay, and then it says find the height of the cable 10 meters from each tower. Be careful with the wording here. 10 meters from the tower does not mean x is 10, so this is 0. Okay, remember this distance is 60. 10 meters from a tower would be like maybe here. This is 10. So if this is 60 and 10 meters from the tower, it means that this has an x value of 50. Okay, so just be careful of that. 10 meters from a tower would mean it's 10 feet before the 60. Okay. So now what we have to do is we have to plug in x equals 50 to find the height, okay? So the height is going to be, at 50, it'll be like, how tall is that? That's what I'm trying to figure out, okay? So you plug that in and you get 50 squared equals 180y, divide by 180, okay? And you get that the y value at that point is 13.889 meters. Which means if you go out 50, this height is 13.889 meters. Okay, so I know this takes some practice. I want you guys to try your homework. You can always email me if you guys have questions, okay? All right, I miss you guys. Take care. Bye.